So yeah, I guess we can go ahead and start.
I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. I am going to go ahead and go over some Zoom meeting procedure guidelines. First going to remind everybody the meeting is being recorded and broadcast on the city's YouTube channel and public access cable channel 25. During the meeting, when you are not participating, please mute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon found on the lower left-hand side of the Zoom menu next to the video icon. When you are muted, a red line will appear over the icon. Muting your microphone during the meeting will make it easier for everyone to hear. You'll just have to remember to unmute if and when you want to speak. In some cases, I may unmute or mute people needed to minimize distractions during the meeting. Please remember to state your name every time you speak for the benefit of those listening remotely. You can turn your video camera on or off by clicking the video icon in the menu. For the purposes of this public meeting, when you are participating in the meeting, please keep your video on. When you are not participating in the meeting, please turn your video off. You will still be able to listen to the meeting when your video is off. You'll just have to remember to turn your video back on when you are participating. Turning your video on or off when you are not participating will help make sure that active meeting participants can be seen on the screen. In some cases, I may turn someone's video off if they are not actively participating to avoid distraction during the meeting. You can always turn your video back on during the meeting. If you are participating by phone, you can click *6 to unmute your phone. For those using Zoom, somewhere on your screen, you will see a choice to toggle between speaker and gallery view. Speaker view shows the active speaker. Gallery view tiles all the meeting participants. Board members and city staff members, you must state your name and title each time you speak. All motions will need to be stated clearly. After a motion is made and seconded, the chair will call on board members individually to provide their vote. And then the chair will, that's me, will then need to announce whether the motion carried and the count of the vote. When public comment is sought on an item, individuals participating via Zoom should use the raise your hand feature. Windows and Mac users can access this feature using the participants button at the bottom of their screen. Android and iPhone users can access this feature through the More button located at the bottom right-hand corner of their screen. And for those calling in by phone, you can dial *9. Individuals will be called upon by name in the order they appear on the meeting host screen. When you are called on, please unmute your listening device and state your name before speaking. The chair will then call for in-person public comment for those without access to technology options. Staff present will direct you to the podium to speak following social distancing and safety protocols. The regular 3-minute time limit will apply. Thank you. Britt, do we have anybody in person today?
Madam Chair, we do not have anybody here in the room.
Okay, great. All right, so thank you for listening to that. We are going to start by taking a roll call of all of our Public Incentive Review Committee members. And if you could just state that you are in attendance and your name when I call on you. Adam Ritchie.
Ritchie is here.
Brad Burnside.
Madam Chairman.
All right, John Matthews.
John Matthews is here.
Christina Gentry.
Present.
Kate Lorenz.
Kate Lorenz is here.
Kate Emerson.
This is Kay, I'm here.
And Patrick Kelly.
Patrick Kelly here.
All right, did I miss anybody? All right. Before we start with the agenda, I would like everybody who is on the PERC committee to take a moment to introduce themselves. We do have some new staff, and we do have a new board member, Kay Emerson, who is our school board representative. So if you guys can just take a few minutes to just tell us a little bit about yourself and that. So Adam, Richie?
Well, nothing like going first. This is Adam Ritchie. I have a local LED lighting business, but interestingly enough, or maybe not interesting, I don't do a lot of business in Lawrence. I also teach tennis part-time at Jayhawk Tennis Center. So that is a little bit about me.
Great. Brad?
Good afternoon. This is Brad Burnside. I am the local market president for U.S. Bank. I've been on this committee for quite some time. I was put on the committee by the Lawrence Chamber Board, of which I am now a member again of the board of directors of the Lawrence Chamber. And so that's my story.
All right, great. Christina?
All right, there's unmuted. Hi, Christina Gentry. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I work presently at the Lawrence Douglas County Public Health as a community health liaison. I've been a resident here at Lawrence for 17 years. 5 children, all of them who have gone through elementary, high school, and on to college. And my interest here is just to continue to understand the makeup and be a part of the process of being a public servant here in Douglas County.
Great. John Matthews?
I'm John Matthews. I was appointed by Mayor Finkeldye. It was about mid-2020. So I've been in Lawrence for the last 20 years. Enjoy serving on this committee and see how I can make Lawrence a better place.
Great. Kay Emerson.
Hi, my name is Kay Emerson. I come to this board as a representative of the school board. And I was very interested in being a part of this because I found it important to kind of learn a little bit more about how businesses become part of our community and how that affects the different tiers that support each and every individual that lives in Lawrence. So I'm thankful to be here today and I'm looking to learn. Thanks.
Great, welcome. Kate Lorenz.
Hi, everyone. Hi to those on Zoom and to those in City Hall, and welcome, Kay, and to the new folks that we have with us. I'm Kate Lorenz. I am the Senior Director of Events and Audience Services at the Lead Center on campus. I'm honored and privileged to represent the Sustainability Advisory Board as their nominee to this committee. I've found it very interesting so far to learn about the incentives and economic development investments that the city makes. I'm the parent of a 3-year-old, so I spend a lot of time doing Peppa Pig voices at home and look forward to talking with you all today.
Great. I might have to learn a little bit of Peppa Pig from you. I've got a nephew that's into that. So Patrick Kelly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patrick Kelly. I'm County Commissioner for District 1 in Douglas County. I'm glad to be here. I also I feel honored to work for the Lawrence Public Schools, and I'm very proud of the Lawrence Public Schools. Just about everybody on this group I've worked with in some way or another. So I was on the Planning Commission for about 6 years before coming to the County Commission. So being on PERC really made a lot of sense. I have a big passion for economic development issues in Lawrence and Douglas County. So thank you for serving, for those of you who are volunteering. And I think that's just about all of you. And thank you very much for your work.
Great. I'll introduce myself. I'm Michelle Phels. I am currently the chair of Public Incentive Review Committee. I believe I'm on my 2nd term. And during the day. I am a mortgage loan officer at RCB Bank here in town. Been in the Lawrence community for 37 years. My husband and I moved here then. We live in East Lawrence on New York Street. And we have a son who is doing his PhD in Chicago. And so that's about my life. Britt, do you want to do some introductions at the city level?
Sure. I'm Britt Krumkano. Thank you all for being here. I'm the Economic Development Director for the City of Lawrence. I'm going on my 11th year working for the city, and I am also the staff liaison with the Public Incentives Review Committee. And so again, thank you for being here. I would like to introduce to you Sam Camp, who is our new Economic Development Analyst. I'd like Sam to tell you a little bit about himself.
Yeah, of course. Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Sam Camp. I'm joining Britt on as an Economic Development Analyst. I come all the way down from Florida. I've been here about a month. I like it so far. It's a little cold, but I look forward to working with Britt to bring you guys some well thought out beneficial projects for the city of Lawrence. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to introduce themselves? All right. Well, welcome, Sam. My backdrop picture is from a couple of weeks ago in Florida. I was telling Britt I didn't know why you moved up here this time of year, but I'm sure you're getting acclimated to it. So. All right, well, we'll continue on our agenda. The first course of action is to approve our August 30th, 2021 meeting minutes. I'm sure we can all remember that meeting 6 months ago. Is there any changes or any motions?
Michelle, this is John. I'd like to make a motion to approve those minutes.
All right, John has made a motion to approve those minutes. Is there a second?
This is Patrick. I'll second.
All right, so John has made a motion to accept the August 30th minutes, and Patrick Kelly has seconded those. I'm going to go through the board members, and if you could place your yes or no vote. So, John?
Yes, aye.
Yeah. All right, Brad? Brad?
Yes, sorry. I'm in
That's
favor.
okay. Christina?
Yes, I approve.
Okay.
Yes.
Adam?
Aye.
Kate?
Yes.
And Patrick?
Yes.
And then I am also a yes. So with a vote of 8 in favor and 0 against, those minutes are accepted. All right, so our next agenda item is to consider a request from Dover Construction for an industrial, if I can talk today, a review bond financing to obtain a sales tax exemption on construction materials to build the Cedarhurst Assisted Living and Memory Care Facility, which is to be located at 4450 Bower Farm Drive. And so I'm going to go ahead and open that up to our presenters, which I believe are Andrew and Nick.
Yep, Madam Chair, if I could, this is Britt Krumkano, City's Economic Development Director. I always like to introduce the projects initially, and then we'll go ahead and turn it over to the development team presenters, and they can talk about the project, their request, give us a little information about their company, and then open it up for a Q&A. So this is a request that staff has received an application from Dover Development for the new Cedarhurst facility out in the Bower Farm area. It is proposed to be a 70,000 square foot facility built on 7 acres. Cost is about $21 million in capital investment. It is a senior facility providing living, medical, memory types of services for those seniors. And if plans go forward, they would start construction this year and have it operational next year. So with that brief introduction, I'm going to turn it over to the development team and have them, like I said, introduce you to the project, their company, their request, and then we'll open it up for questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Britt. My name is Nick Dwyer. I'm with Dover Development. Am I able to share my screen? I just have a short presentation to run through that would kind of give an overview of the project and our company. Can I do that?
I think you can.
Okay.
We've got a technical person here. If we run into problems, he can help us.
Yeah, I think I should be able to. Let me know. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, I'll just run through this briefly, but thanks again for everyone's time. Like I said, my name is Nick Dwyer. I work for Dover Development, which is the real estate development company for Cedarhurst Senior Living, which is a larger organization. We're headquartered in St. Louis, and we essentially develop, own and operate senior housing communities throughout the Midwest. And for this request, we are essentially requesting the issuance of industrial revenue bonds to obtain a construction sales tax exemption to, hopefully alleviate some of the crazy cost increases that we've seen over the last year or two due to COVID and other economic conditions. Construction has just become extremely high and reaching new all-time highs at a daily basis. So hopefully with the industrial revenue bond process, we can make the project a little bit more economically feasible and hopefully bring this to Lawrence here, as Britt mentioned, in the spring when we plan to break ground. But like I mentioned, we're a vertically integrated senior housing organization. We manage over 60 communities throughout the Midwest and Southeast United States. We serve approximately 5,400 seniors. And traditionally, our communities consist of assisted living apartments and memory care apartments. And so we are housing and caring for folks that essentially can no longer live at home on their own, and they might need a little bit of assistance or they might need a lot. Each resident has a individually kind of tailored care plan based on their needs and the activities of daily living that they need help with. So we, like I mentioned, we've got facilities kind of all over the Midwest. This will be our hopefully our third project in Kansas. We're under construction on a similar type facility in Topeka, and soon we'll be breaking ground on a project in Salina, and the plan is for Lawrence to follow shortly thereafter. It is worth noting that both of those projects also utilized industrial revenue bonds to help get those across the finish line, and those are both recent projects, probably our most recent projects other than Lawrence. Just some sort of data on the Lawrence, Kansas senior population. It's expected to grow over 23% in the next 5 years, which is a rather large number, even when you compare a lot of towns across the U.S. are seeing increased aging demographics just due to the nature of the baby boomer population and other factors. But Lawrence has quite a high senior growth rate, and adult children, the anticipated decision makers, that population is also expected to grow. So the 45 to 65-year-olds who will be putting their parents in these types of communities, that population is expected to grow as well. And then another reason that we're attracted to Lawrence, and we think our project will do really well, is just the age of existing inventory in the market. A lot of the competitive product in Lawrence is quite dated, and so our goal is to hopefully bring sort of a fresh new senior living environment at similar costs, very competitive prices to provide that level of care for those seniors in the area. So more details on the project. It's 74 units. That's a pretty standard size community that we like to build. And so 52 of those apartments will be dedicated for assisted living residents. And then there will be a smaller 22 unit memory care wing that's designed specifically to care for those who suffer from Alzheimer's and other related dementias. That portion of the facility is designed in such a way that limits wandering and allows for the specialized memory care staff to have eyes on residents at all time, and just, you know, more secured and sort of stable environment for those folks. As Britt mentioned, we anticipate the total project to be approximately $21 million all in terms of real estate construction, initial operating deficit, all in number 21 million. And when the facility opens, we anticipate 50 jobs will be created. That's sort of the number that we've seen in other similar type projects, the majority of them being full-time with benefits and healthcare, all that good stuff. And then we'll have some part-time staff as well, both on the care side and the administrative side. Total annual payroll expected to be $1.5 million plus. And then just in terms of the construction, we'll also be creating obviously a lot of jobs. We try to use local subcontractors in the area as much as possible. And so hopefully will be a nice boost to the local construction market and labor market as well, create some jobs in that regard too. And so just a high level of our schedule, we currently have the property under an option contract. We got our zoning approved in December. We're finalizing some portions of the development plan with the planning department, and hopefully we'll be able to submit for permits later this month or in early April, and then hopefully, you know, if all goes according to plan, break ground later this spring, early this summer. And this just gives you an idea of what the facility will look like. We're working with a new architect here in St. Louis. And so this is the building design that actually we're building in Topeka, Salina, and hopefully we'll be building in Lawrence as well. The physical apartments, they're a mix of studios, 1-bedrooms and 2s. The memory care apartments are all private studios. And then, as I mentioned, the facility will be home to 50 both full and part-time employees that will be in charge of managing the facility, taking care of the residents, working in our dining program, and then, you know, other housekeeping staff, property maintenance type employees as well. This is just to give you an overview of the location. We're on a 6.5 acre tract within the Bower Farm subdivision. So really the last sort of developable tract in that area, just south of Free State High School and just east of Theater of Lawrence. And these are just some additional exterior renderings. And these are pictures of facilities that we've built the last several years. So just to kind of give you a taste of, you know, the level of quality of the interior of the facility and the apartments, as well as some of the outdoor spaces. We take a lot of pride in our facilities and the quality of the construction. So that's all I have. Happy to answer any other questions. As I mentioned, the request here is really just for a construction sales tax abatement, which I believe there's precedent for with other senior housing communities in Lawrence. We're not asking for any real estate or property tax abatement for this project. But happy to answer any questions, and thank you guys for your time.
Great, thank you, Andrew. Did Nick have anything that he needed to present?
Oh, that was me.
Oh, you're Nick?
Yes.
Sorry.
And Andrew's on as well.
So my apologies. Did
That's
Andrew
all right.
have anything he needed to add?
I don't, thank you. I'm Andrew Kovar with Triple Wolf and Garrettson. I'm counsel for Cedarhurst and Dover Development on this project. I specialize in bond counsel and incentive and development work. And so thank you for your consideration. Nick obviously had an excellent presentation, and we'll have any answers to any specific questions you have about this project. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Sorry about mixing up the names. All right, board members, do any of you have any questions you would like to ask?
Hello, this is Kay. I had a couple of questions. One of my first questions is you stated that it was great, being able to create jobs. I think that's always a great thing. My main question though is what would be the average rate of pay for the employees that you're looking to hire on this project?
So I think we have that exact figure. Britt, I don't know if you're.
Yeah, I think I have that in my memo. Let me get back, scroll over to that.
I want to say it's around $30 an hour between the full-time and part-time, but I think the figure changed during the application process. So I want to make sure we're getting the right figure. We had sent Britt an updated number, but just give you a high-level overview. We've definitely seen wages go up, and the ability to attract workers for these types of healthcare facilities is definitely a challenge right now. So I know wages have definitely seen an increase over last year, but I want to say our average wage is probably $30 an hour. It goes as high as $60 an hour for the high-level administrators of these types of facilities.
And the lowest level of weight?
So the lowest level would probably be like a dining aide who might be a high school student who would work here part-time, and that wage would probably be around $12 an hour.
Yeah, if I look at page 15, I believe it is, of the packet, let me see if I got that number right. Oh, 5, not 15, sorry. It says that your average wage from, if we do the weighted average, it's around 42.
Okay.
857 with your support staff around 30,000. So not sure if that'll help, Kate. Okay.
This is Christina Gentry, member at large. I'm just going to keep on the same track with Kay and ask about what metric you used to entice new hires here in Lawrence or surrounding areas, but we'd be using social media or things like Indeed.com. How will you entice employment opportunities to your facility?
Yeah, I think both of those ways that you mentioned will definitely be utilized. Admittedly, I don't work on the operations side, but typically once we're under construction and we're anywhere between 9 to 6 months out, we'll usually start having folks, whether it be in a sales office trailer or in a remote office nearby the project, and we'll usually send some corporate folks out, and they'll start driving both leasing on the resident side and also start focusing on hiring folks local in the community and trying to. Our goal is obviously to get to a point when the facility opens, we're fully staffed and ready to go. And we've been successful in doing that on projects in the past, but typically 6 to 9 months out, we will start that process and really start pounding the pavement locally in terms of driving both new residents to live in our community and staff to work in the community.
Okay, and another quick question, Nick. This is Christina Gentry, member at large. What is the patient to staff ratio in your facilities?
That's a great question. I can probably do the math quickly here. Probably be about 1.5 residents to staff member. If we're talking strictly care staff, it's probably 3 residents to 1 staff member on the care side.
This is Kay Emerson again, representative school board. Okay, so I had a couple more questions. One of my questions is, is when it comes to, you had stated that, one of the reasons that you are interested is because of just the existing age. I was just kind of curious, like how many individuals in Lawrence actually are needing additional housing in this age group? I think that was one of the main points I was missing from what you were sharing.
Yeah, so just to kind of give you some insight on how we select new markets to enter, we do both internal sort of market analysis as well as utilize third-party market analysis. And we really look at the age of inventory, the market rates that folks are charging, and then the occupancy levels. And in this scenario in Lawrence, we found that there's a lot of facilities charging a lot of money for assisted living apartments that could potentially be 20, 30 years old, outdated. And we think we can provide a product that's much nicer at a very, very similar cost. And then there were several communities that we thought to be direct competitors that had waiting lists and that were full, which is the number one indicator that there's demand for this type of product. And then we do both pull demographics and run internal and external analysis that both indicated demand for more seniors, not just presently. There is demand presently, but we expect that number to continue to grow over the next 5 to 10 years. So we think based on the size of this project, we expect it to lease up rather quickly. So
I appreciate that. And then very lastly, what's kind of that return of investment for you guys with knowing that with this vote, or with this decision we're about to make, with the savings on construction, what would the potential return of investment would be on this project for you all?
For the return on investment of getting the construction sales tax exemption? To be honest, I'm not quite sure what that number is. I know, Britt, I believe in your staff report, did you have an estimated savings based on the construction size and the local sales tax rate?
I will try not to choke, but I am battling a bug, so I apologize. Yeah, I do have that in my staff report. There is an estimated sales tax on this this amount of estimated sales tax exemption would be $230,315, of which approximately $53,000 of that is coming from the city. Now that's assuming all materials are bought within Lawrence. I don't know what the construction team has in terms of deciding, where they're going to be purchasing their materials and that sort of thing. This sales tax exemption would be within the state of Kansas. If you bought materials outside of that state, I don't know how. I'm not familiar enough to know if this exemption would extend to those types of purchases. So this is really looking at the maximum.
And again, this is Christina Gentry, member at large, and I'll continue on asking about employment opportunities. And if you can answer these questions, please do. But you may or may not know all the information. I would like to know, using your other facilities, I hear that you have quite a few, some located in one in Topeka and other places. Would you say you have a good overall understanding of staff and people who are working with you or hires presently in your other facilities?
To be honest, personally, no, I do not. I visit our facilities. I work more on the front end of the development construction side. I visit our facilities, often when I'm on the road, but I'm not in there enough on a daily basis to speak to specifically to the folks that are working in these facilities, but happy to try to answer your question to the best I can.
Sure. This is Christina Gentry again. So I'm imagining who you would work in contact with at your other facilities would be executive positions or anyone who is carrying a professional position you would be meeting with those folks. I would imagine, even if you weren't on the floor and understanding all of the different folks who you have working in your facilities. Is that correct?
To an extent, the executive level staff at the community level, at the location level, they'll actually report to Cedarhurst Senior Living has a set of regional managers that might oversee a portfolio of 2 to 3 communities. And then those folks will report to their higher level regional managers. And so I'm in communication with those folks as we're getting ready to open a new project. And so, to be honest, I don't have much interaction with the actual administrative level staff at each specific location.
Okay, well, that's fair. This is Christina Gentry again, because my question would kind of tail into how many of those positions are held by people of color, and then how many of them will be an executive, because I see that it's $50 an hour for an executive paid position there at your facility, and professionals get $30 an hour. And then taking gender diversity into consideration, what are the positions most held at the space in your facility? So maybe you aren't the person to ask these questions to. And maybe that would be helpful information.
Yeah, I can certainly talk with our HR department. Obviously, diversity is very important to us, and I can't say from a gender aspect, just going off the cuff, I know that a majority of the administrative level employees in our communities are typically women, and I think that's just a nature of the senior care industry. But I can certainly reach out to our HR department if you guys want specific figures on diversity or gender inclusion or what have you.
I would appreciate that. This is Christina Gentry. Thank you for your answers, Nick.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
This is Commissioner Kelly. I've got a couple questions. Michelle, if that's okay.
Perfect.
So this may be for Britt, and I'm going to go down a road that we seem to go down on every perk request that we have. And I'm looking specifically at page 4 of the application, well, not the application, but the document the city puts together. And I notice under retail and residential projects, the policy says that the city declines issues IRB projects that are largely retail or residential in nature. And then it lists a whole bunch of not applicable, not applicable, not applicable. And so I'm trying to understand how this project is not residential in nature, which therefore wouldn't qualify. So Brett, I'm just interested in your recommendation and what was your thinking about that? And I can, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah, Patrick, I'd be happy. Rick Crumcano, Economic Development Director. Yeah, staff looked at this. We did think about that, but because of the nature of the services that are provided, we felt that this was a very different type of project than a regular residential project. And so we would consider it more of a medical residential versus a regular residential, or maybe even more medical services and senior service type of project.
Thank you, Britt. But medical is not one of those as a targeted business. Is that correct? Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, that is correct. But this provides, I don't know if I want to, the targeted businesses up above.
Yes.
Those are mainly for industrial type projects, of which this would not be. This is more of a community development project, of which we have considered, many in the past. So I think that's one of the areas of the policy that we probably need to look at updating and broadening because of the types of projects that we want to see coming forward within the community. But this is, this particular section here, 2.5.4, deals primarily with industrial types and manufacturing type of projects.
Thanks, Commissioner Phels. Chair Phels, I have one more question, and this one's for the applicant, and it's more towards your assertion that you said earlier that this project could not be done. I don't know, I may be misphrasing when I say could not be done, or that the other projects you have done in the area have included these IRB funds and makes it fiscally necessary. What I have read about nursing homes and especially elder care facilities is it is extremely profitable, and that there is a high demand. And I know for a fact that there's high demand because I have a family friend who is trying to find this very type of facility here in Lawrence. And I would like you to address a little bit about demand and whether it's always that question of, if we didn't give you these IRB funds, would you develop this project anyways? And I'm sure you're going to say, no, of course not. We would never develop this project without these IRB funds. But I think part of our job is sort of to understand, like where is that threshold here? Because, on the county side, $16,000 buys a lot of stuff. And so while it also will increase our tax base, I want to make sure that, not assessing these sales taxes is really necessary in order for this project to go forward. So I'm just trying to get a sense of that. I'd like to put my cards on the table and sort of tell you where I'm at.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you this. I think you're right about the demand, and I believe that that demand is going to exist for quite some time, just due to the nature of the aging population. So we're confident that there's demand for this project, and the project will succeed if it goes forward. However, senior living is a little bit, it's sort of a niche product type, and it's a little interesting how COVID and the current sort of state of the economy is affecting senior housing. And what you're seeing is it's not just sort of like apartments or any other general type of commercial real estate. We're getting affected on two levels, and that's both the rising construction costs, which makes projects more difficult to pencil, but really what's driving where this request comes from is labor as well. And so throughout COVID, we saw spikes as great as 20-30% in our operating costs, which can really drive down a business plan and turn a project upside down very quickly. And while we're in the process of developing this project, we've had to reprice other projects several times, and we've seen construction costs rise 15-20% just in a matter of months of repricing projects, and subcontractors not willing to hold their pricing because of the dramatic changes in labor and material and what have you. So I can't say definitively if we didn't get this sales tax exemption that this project would not go through, but it's a way for us to hedge against all these risks and dramatic price changes that we're seeing both on the construction side and the labor side. It's becoming very challenging in this environment to make these projects pencil. So that was the nature of the request. And as you mentioned, we're not requesting any real estate tax abatement. So we believe the benefit and the tax payment that we'll be making on the property side is a far greater benefit than what the city or the state will be giving up on that smaller sales tax portion on the construction side.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate your candor on that question.
Madam Chair and Member Kelly, if I could, this is Britt Krumkano, Economic Development Director. Patrick, I did want to, there's something I overlooked since I do these kind of in advance. Section 2.5.5 does allow IRBs to be done for senior living types of facilities. So I did want to point out that, yes, we can do this. The other thing is, for a sales tax exemption IRB, the policy does not require a cost benefit or benefit cost analysis to be ran. So typically I don't, but this particular time I did. And I wanted to share with you some of the numbers because I think this kind of gets back to, if you want to talk about return on investment and what our different taxing jurisdictions are getting back from a project like this, we typically look at a cost benefit ratio. The city likes to see a ratio of 1 to 1.25, which means for every dollar of assistance that's going in, we get $1.25 in benefit value. This particular project, because it's adding so much to the tax rolls and it has a lot of investment, the benefit cost ratios for the city are 4.25. For the county, that's $6.64, and for the school district, $3.90. So if you want to look at that as our return on our public dollar investment, I think that's one of the better ways of looking at it.
This is Michelle Phels. Oh, sorry, Chair. Britt, thank you for that information. Did someone have something to ask?
Hi, yes, this is the Kay Emerson board rep, school board rep. I wanted to ask a real quick question on that return of investment that you just shared, Britt. How long would we be looking at that? What's kind of that timeline for that return of investment to actually come through?
Typically, when I run a cost benefit analysis, I like to go 5 years beyond the incentive period. Since this period is almost instantaneous, I ran it for 5 years. So we're looking at a 5-year time period for that. And then of course, beyond that, because it's fully on the tax rolls, at a much higher property tax value than the vacant lot is currently bringing in, it continues to bring in those revenues.
This is Michelle, the chair. Britt, building on what you just said, I just ran a quick and dirty real estate tax calculation based off of 19% of the value. I know that's a little low based off of what the county actually assesses it at, but just thought it would give us a picture. And it would take a little under 4 years just using the real estate tax increase alone just to pay for this IRB. That's not accounting any, benefit from jobs or anything else. So that's just my calculation on it. But, I work off of numbers, so that's how I think. Anyone else on the committee have some questions?
This is Kate Lorenz. If I can step in. So I appreciate the info that you've provided, Nick and Andrew, if you're there. Yeah, I see you now. And Britt, thank you for those numbers as well. I also appreciate the info in the application for the IRB in the areas of the public benefits for economic enhancement, for job creation, and for quality of life enhancement. I'm curious about the area that didn't have anything marked in it, the environmental sustainability. So it doesn't say that it will meet Energy Star criteria, nor be built to LEED equivalent level, nor provide environmentally friendly features. So I just wanted to ask about that and hear more about the environmental and sustainability aspects of the project and of your company and its values.
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, with the current construction market and the cost increases, that's just honestly not something that we focus on with our facilities. What we do focus on in terms of resident environment is a strong emphasis on outdoor space. So each resident will have its own private porch or patio. And then there's also 2 outdoor courtyards within the community with walking paths, green space, plenty of plantings, and in addition, there's some resident community gardens as well, and then we plan to incorporate some walking paths on the exterior of the facility as well for residents that will also tie in with the surrounding area and the surrounding properties. So while the physical plant itself might not have some of those environmental certifications that were listed on the application, we still feel the project provides a lot of green space and amenity space for the resident, which is most important to us, is the resident aspect of it. So
thank you. So just kind of building off of that, just wanted to kind of draw attention to some of the things that are unique about Lawrence. So in the in Ernst & Young's economic development assessment that I believe came out in 2020, they found that the protection of the environment and sustainability are extremely important values for Lawrence as a community, for our residents. So one of the findings in that report says that the commitment to respecting, protecting, and celebrating the environment is a noticeable aspect of Lawrence's culture. The focus goes beyond the environment outdoors to include creating sustainable buildings, utilities, and transportation. And for the applicants as well as the city staff, just reinforcing that the report also says to address these concerns, the economic development strategy could prioritize protecting and preserving the natural environment. So just wanted to kind of reiterate that that sort of environmentalism and sustainability is not just a sort of a separate checkbox, but in Lawrence is meant to be kind of integrated into everything that we do. In addition, in February of 2021, the City Commission unanimously voted to direct the city to implement the Green New Deal sustainability principles into all of its planning and decision making as applicable. So just kind of wanted to point that out as some unique and very important aspects of Lawrence as a community. And Nick, if you have thoughts or Andrew in response to that, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, I can't speak anything specifically to that, but certainly something that obviously if that's important to the community, that's something we can certainly take into account. The plans for the facility aren't entirely finalized, and so if there's ways where we can incorporate environmentally friendly aspects to the design, or like I mentioned, some of those exterior courtyards, if we can see if we can add some sort of features that might enhance those characteristics the city's looking for. I think that's something that we'll certainly do, and maybe even get some feedback from the city in ways that we can enhance those spaces to highlight some of those things you were talking about within our design.
Thank you.
Sure.
This is Commissioner Kelly and Nick. I would encourage you to visit with the planning department there because there are some credits that you can get, maybe not monetary incentive credits, but some other credits that may lower the cost of your project with other requirements if you're willing to adjust the project towards those sustainability guidelines that Kate is speaking about. We really probably don't do a good enough job of explaining that to developers and what those opportunities are. So it is a value of the county and the city. Our sustainability branch is both city and county. And so I just would encourage you, if your plans aren't finalized, to visit with the planning department about some opportunities there.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do. When we plan on engaging them for the permit process, that's something I'll bring up with them.
This is Christina Gentry, community member at large. I have a lot of questions, so just bear with me here. And we're going to continue. I'm going to continue in the vein of Kate's focus on community impact, especially talking and maybe centering and bringing a lens on the economic enhancement description of your application, page 2 of the application packet. I'll quote you here. It says, seniors who move into your facility, typically sell their homes, giving younger families opportunities to purchase those homes and in turn increasing the tax base. With that objective in mind, I believe I read that you're focused on to help maintain our seniors to stay in place and live in place. I just want to ask you if you're aware of the typical average home ownership of Douglas County and Lawrence specifically, and its demographic makeup here. Do you have some understanding of what home ownership would look like? And typically, if you're saying in your application that seniors would sell their homes, do you know how many and what the makeup is of the seniors who own their own homes in order to sell to live in your facility? So I'm just kind of curious if you know what Douglas County home ownership looks like in order for people to maybe afford to live in your facility.
As far as the percentage of folks that own a home in Douglas County, I don't have that figure on me. I know it's part of our market analysis, so I could pull that figure and get back to you. What we mean when we talk about, so I guess to give you an example, our typical resident is, let's say, 85 years of age. It's someone who definitely is not fit for a nursing home. They're still, social. They still want to be active. Most likely they're living at home. Maybe they've lost a spouse in the last several years. Maybe their children live in a different town or they're not nearby. And they're folks that just need a little bit of assistance with activities of daily living. So when we talk about sort of the transition of homes within the community, typically what we've seen is someone will move into our community. They're, say, 85, like I mentioned. They're not in the greatest of shape to where they're able to upkeep with their house. And so maybe their house has become a little deteriorated over the last few years. And so when they move into our facility, typically they'll sell that off and use those funds to, keep up with the rest of their life or use it to pay the fees to move into our facility. And then in turn, maybe a younger family or someone can buy that home and make improvements and increase the property value. So no, I don't have specific figures. Obviously, with Lawrence being a college town, I'm sure the home ownership rate isn't quite as high as somewhere like Topeka, but we still feel there's plenty of seniors in town that own their own homes and would be good candidates to move into our community.
Thank you for your response. And I'll kind of chime in when I hear something coming from the rest of the group. I don't want to bogart all this time. I've got quite a few questions, but if there comes an opportunity to ask about, how much rent will be, what are you charging for each of your units, and what the affordable plan is for that, I'll chime in then, but I'm going to leave the space open for others to maybe ask on the economic description of your application and what that would mean for families who do own homes, or for individuals who do own their homes and sell them to live in that facility. So I'll just stop there. Thank you.
Sure. And I will say the community will be priced, if not even with comparable facilities in town, even at a bit of a discount. And that's sort of our value proposition to the local seniors.
Right. Thank you. Any other PERC members that might have questions? All right. I have a few, and then Christine, if you have any questions off of those, let me know. How far along is your Topeka project at this time? You mentioned there was a project in Topeka.
It's probably 50% completed, so okay. It's still under construction.
All right. And do you know, right offhand, of the contractors being used, how many of them are local and how many are coming from out of town?
The majority of them are certainly from the state of Kansas. I know we're using some from surrounding towns, and then definitely a good amount from Topeka. I don't know the exact figures, but it's usually more beneficial to use local contractors. It wouldn't really benefit us to bring folks from, say, St. Louis or Illinois to work on a project in Kansas. I think most contractors are so busy right now that nobody would be willing to travel that far anyway. So typically on most projects, we anticipate that majority of the subcontractors are going to be from, if not within that specific town, then surrounding towns at a minimum.
And I know that finding a contractor that can get there timely these days may be a limiting factor also.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah. The reason I asked that is there was another project, and I won't name it, that I asked that specific question of how much of it would be local. And it was a project that I drove by quite often during construction and was very dismayed to see out-of-state contractors being utilized when the contractor stated that they would be using locals. So, it is something we like to see, if at all possible, is the local contractors. And we do know that, you have to make it fiscally feasible. Plus you also, have the availability of the contractors that can come into play. So I was just curious on on that. When do you start marketing your units for rental?
Typically 6 months prior to opening.
Okay, so we would see your advertising for these probably with the, mid 2023 date, give or take.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, that sounds fairly accurate. Typically, we'll start hiring our sales staff and high-level administrative staff about 6 months out, and then they'll really start pounding the pavement locally and start marketing and start doing some maybe virtual tours or potentially in-person tours if the municipality allows it, and that's when we really start pushing those efforts.
All right. And then going back to your jobs, do you typically bring in the director from another location because they already have the experience, or do you tend to hire that locally?
No, we tend to hire it locally, and it's very important to hire locally, actually, just because of each state and each municipality is sort of different in their licensure and their regulations regarding assisted living. So it's very critical that we hire locally, especially from within the state. And it's usually beneficial to hire folks locally who just know the town and know sort of all the key players and kind of the environment and the different areas of town and who the stakeholders are. It's very critical to hire locally, and so that's what we intend to do.
Great. As far as your employment breakdown, as far as benefits that are provided to the employees, can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so each full-time employee I know will get the full standard suite of benefits that folks like us at the corporate office get. So healthcare, 401k, PTO, all that sort of good stuff. In our application, I think, Andrew, you might be able to remind me. We might have included some excerpts from our HR packet. So I can't speak to the details of that, but I believe it might have been included with our application.
Okay, I'll look for that again. As far as financing for this project, is that a local lender, or did you have to go out of town for that?
We have not finalized that, but
Okay.
I have talked to several local lenders, so we try to work with local lenders where we can, and we've spoken to several local financial institutions about financing the project.
Great. And then I'm looking at the map here, so I see Walmart, I have Sprouts, and I have your Cedarhurst, and if I'm looking at this map, it's kind of catty corner or right beside Theodore Lawrence. Is that correct?
Correct. Just east of Theodore Lawrence is our site. Okay,
great. Do you believe that the current assisted living at the corner of Folks and Bower Farm Drive, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, is going to cause any issue with you, or do you think it will enhance that because of?
So we actually think that particular facility could act as a feeder to ours. They actually don't provide any assisted living or memory care. They're an independent living facility. So folks in that community are probably quite a bit younger, quite a bit more active. And if they start requiring care, they're either going to have to bring it in from a third party, usually, and pay a premium, to whereas they could move into our facility and get it in-house at a more economical cost. So we see it as a scenario where folks might move into the Meadowlark community, and then maybe 5-10 years go by, and as they age and require a little bit more care, then our facility would be a much better fit. So we don't really see them as a direct competitor, rather as a potential feeder. And we think, we'll probably have a pretty amicable relationship with those folks, just on the fact that we're serving a bit of a different demographic of senior.
Okay. And then just to touch on your comment, and Christine, this might help. Christine, this might help with one of your comments. Is so I want to make sure that I understood your comment in the packet that if you have someone who's living in their own home at this point in time, then if they choose to move into your facility or another facility in town, that most likely they're going to sell their current home which would then put that on the market for, depending on the price point of that house, for possibly a family to buy. And all I can say from the real estate point of view is, we've been fighting our second year of limited inventory. So I could see that as being a pro out of this project, depending on the houses that are put on the market. And so I just wanted to make that comment. I don't know if that helps, Christina, with your question.
Unmute, there we go. Yes, thank you for coming back to that and circling back. I think more of what I was trying to gauge from Nick was if there was an understanding about the Lawrence demographic of home ownership. So specifically, you would be really looking at taking applications from the majority of homeowners. If that were to be the case where someone would have to, in order to live in your facilities, not in order to, not specifically, and not, I'm saying this is the only way that a person can afford to live there, but we're taking into the understanding of home ownership and who owns homes in Lawrence. And so if you didn't have those figures in that number, I would say that you should maybe, I work at the health department, so one of my benefits working here is to understand our health equity report. That kind of understands and gives a screening to what home ownership looks like in Douglas County. And so while a little more than half of households identifying as white, non-Hispanic reported owning their own homes, the vast majority of owners of their own homes in Douglas County are self-identified white, non-Hispanic. So that just is taking inventory of what our makeup and demographics looks like when it comes to home ownership. So I was just kind of wanting to know the depth of understanding of what home ownership looks like for the residents here. And so taking that into account, if we could maybe shift to not just home ownership, but how a person would pay for the facilities or pay rent. From what I understand on your website, that it says that senior living is not covered by Medicare. So I'm also wondering about the people who would be finding this place to be their final home and moving into this facility, and what % of homes will be reserved, if any, for those receiving Medicaid or Medicare. And then will they be, if any, made affordable to those who were maybe needing affordable housing options? So maybe the Medicare, Medicaid question is something you'll be able to offer us more understanding about.
Yeah, so this is a totally private pay facility. Typically, the affordable senior housing product that you see is financed through government low-income housing tax credits. And so this project does not incorporate any of that. Typically, the home analogy is just one of many instances in how a senior might arrive at our facility. Some other instances, maybe they're living with their children, and the children are looking for a better, more holistic care environment to provide. Sometimes they sell their home, sometimes they don't sell their home, sometimes it's not always required that a senior sells their home. That's just a scenario where someone might move into one of our communities. And so typically they're using either funds from the sale of their home, their retirement savings. Some of the folks have long-term care insurance to help cover the costs. There's VA benefits. So if the spouse of the folks moving into our home or the resident themselves served in the military, there's benefits that they can tap into there. So there's certainly a number of different ways where folks finance the cost to live in one of our communities. And it's typically, when someone moves into our community, as you mentioned, it's usually their last home. And so we don't expect someone to, sell their house at age 65 and then draw down funds for 20, 30 years. It's, the folks moving into our community are typically 85 plus. And so obviously we want to keep them there as long as possible. And there's usually sufficient funds to support them throughout the rest of their life.
All right, this is Michelle Phels, the chair. Any other questions from our board? All right.
I'm sorry, I was pausing. I told you I've got a lot of, this is Christina Gentry, member at large. I was just pausing for someone else to chime in. This is lastly, finally, this is my last question. And this is, maybe a question you can't answer, Nick, but I'm going to ask it anyway. But in reading to your online public facing presence, your homepage, I did some looking around, and I'll quote here about Dover Capital. He says, Dover Capital is a senior private equity investor in living and healthcare industries. It says that Dover takes every project with concern for detail. It does strategic planning, it does cost management and flexibility. And what I did read was that you strive for transparency, integrity, and dependability in every transaction. With that being said, I did not read where there was a statement made public of your business equity and diversity policy and how you execute that. Your company values racial and demographic diversity within your employers and your residents. Nor did I read your purpose to include health equity as a process which includes actions. And being that Dover company also supports consulting and advisory teams that advertise every changing industry rules and standards. So it means to me, what I heard or what I read was that you are dedicated to data-driven and wanting to deliver superior success. My question is, would you be open to creating a statement that includes actionable commitments and that reflects inclusivity, which holds accountability of expectations of your organization? And would you be able to have that posted on your public home web pages by the end of 2022?
It's definitely something that we would like to consider. That might be more on the HR or executive level management's, responsibilities, but something that I can certainly ask after this meeting and sort of bump that question up the chain. Unfortunately, I can't really speak to that with my specific role or my daily responsibilities, but I can certainly investigate that.
Okay, it's Christina Gentry. That's fair. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, this is Michelle, PERC Chair. PERC members, any additional questions? All right, and from what I understand, we don't have anybody that has public comment. Is that correct, Britt?
Yes, Madam Chair, that is correct.
All right, so that being said, if there's no additional questions, if anybody on the PERC committee would like to make a motion, feel free to do so.
Madam Chairman, this is Brad Burnside. I would move that we approve the request as presented based on precedent and based on staff recommendation and based on the fact that this entity is not requesting any real estate tax abatements.
All right, so board member Brad Burnside has made a motion to approve the request as presented based off of precedent, staff recommendation, and that no real estate abatement has been requested. Is there any second to that motion?
Michelle, this is John Matthews. I'd like to second that motion.
All right, so Brad has made the motion and John Matthews has seconded. So I am going to take a roll call vote. All right, John Matthews.
Aye.
Brad Burnside.
Aye.
Christina Gentry.
Nay, and maybe there can be more discussion upon Are we deciding to approve the application or we decided that we're not? I'm curious about the question being asked right now.
Brad has made the motion that we approve the recommendation at this point in time as presented. And so right now, John and Brad have placed yes votes. And if I understand your nay vote, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. Kay Emerson? Kay, are you still there? Kay, I'm not hearing you. It looks like you're on mute.
I am.
Okay, thank you.
Are you ready for my response?
Yes, please.
I'm here. I'm here. Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
My vote is no.
Okay, thank you. Adam Ritchie,
Aye.
Kate Lorenz,
Nay.
Patrick Kelly.
Nay.
All right, and I am a yes. So at this time, we have a recommendation with 4 yeses to the motion to approve the request as presented and 4 noes. So it is a tied vote. And if I understand, Britt, that is just how we pass on the recommendation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there any, Kay, I just got your chat and I did get your vote under no, so thank you. All right, any additional items for the agenda? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Michelle, this is John. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
All right, and any second for that?
Michelle, this is Adam. I'd like to second that.
All right, and Britt, do I have to take a roll call vote for adjournment?
I don't think so. You can do that just to be safe though, if you want to.
Okay. All right, John, should we adjourn?
Aye.
Yes or no? Okay. Brad?
Aye.
Christina?
Yes. See you next time.
All right, Kay Emerson? Kay, are you still there?
Kay's an aye.
Okay, thank you. Adam?
Aye.
Kate Lorenz?
Aye.
Patrick Kelly?
Yes. Okay, Kay's an aye, just so you know.
Got it. All right, got it. And I'm an aye. So meeting is adjourned. I appreciate everyone's time today and we had a good discussion. So everyone have a good time and we hope to see you all soon.
Bye, everyone.